Good morning, everybody. This is Lonnie with Borderline. We're going to do a video today on sealers and some of the problems that you can run into with sealers, depending on what kind of ones you use, and what time of the year, and certain things you can do to fix something rather than having to tear it out. The first thing, we're talking about basically two things. Your surface of your curb can get kind of white and chalky sometimes. They call it efflorescence. It's the salts and minerals and all those things that come to the surface of your curb as it's curing. Okay, as it's dissipating that water, as it's expelling that water, as it cures, it'll leave those deposits on the surface. Those can be caused by all sorts of things, and that might be another video to do on what all that is. But there's certain ways you can fix some of those color issues. Plus, in the summertime, especially when it gets really hot, you can put your sealer on when the temperatures are too high, and you'll get bubbling. Okay, the sealer has bubbles in it because it's drying so fast, and there's ways to fix that. Okay, so let's look at the sealer that I use, and I've had really good luck with this over the years. It's a Butterfield Clear Guard. This is a 25% solids, and what that means is basically when you spray this on, 25% of that liquid is going to be left behind. The rest of it is going to evaporate. 75% of that is going to be gone. The solvent, okay, this is a solvent-based acrylic sealer. Okay, stay away from all water-based sealers if possible. Okay, you're just going to run into more troubles with water-based sealer. But this is a 25% solids, and basically xylene is the solvent that is in this sealer. So that's what's going to evaporate, and your solids are what is left behind. Typically, the higher the solids, the higher the gloss. Okay, so when you spray that one time with a higher solid sealer, it's going to leave more of it behind, obviously, and it's going to leave a higher gloss. Typically, too, not all the time, but most of the time, the higher the solids, the harder it is to spray because it's a little bit too thick. So you guys have issues spraying the 35% solids because most of the times those are probably designed to be rolled. So if you can go to a 25% or less, it's considered a cure seal. Okay, in most states. Some states it doesn't. You got to be lower solids to have that considered as a cure seal. Cure meaning the sealer is going to allow your concrete to expel water, and it should go right through the sealer. Okay, without having it trapped underneath with like a vapor lock type thing, or issues with that. So 25% and less, for the most part, is considered a cure seal. Anything higher than that, you're going to have trouble releasing that water vapor. In the summertime, we run into the more issues with bubbling. Okay, so when you spray your sealer on, it's too hot, and you're not kind of checking the weather and things like that. If it's 95 to 100 degrees and you're in direct sunlight, this is going to cure too fast, and your sealer is going to have bubbles in it. There's ways to get that out, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. But your sealer, if you're running into a lot of problems with that, with it bubbling because it's just hot in your area all the time down south, and typically when you're sealing, it's warm already, lower the solids of your sealer. So like this 25% solids, what I could do if I'm really running into a lot of issues with that is I would take some xylene and go ahead and pour it in here and mix it up, because now I'm going to thin it out even farther, and I could probably reduce this to a 15 to 20% solid sealer. And that's really gonna, help me with the bubbling and the curing and all that. And I might not have those bubbling issues. So sometimes it's just better to buy the lower percentage solids. Now, if I want that high gloss to come back, because it's not as many solids in there, you're just doing more coats. Okay, so thin coats, you put an extra coat on there, and you'll get that gloss back. Okay, so it just depends on what you want to deal with, really. So again, stay away from water-based sealers if possible. There's a lot of states in the country that don't have any solvent-based sealers, and some of the water-based ones are pretty good. But for the most part, if you can get a solvent-based sealer, stick with that, because you'll have a lot less issues. Here's an example of some bubbling, and I did this on purpose the other day. We were testing some new stamps outside, and it was really hot. It was in direct sunlight, and I knew this was going to bubble. So just to get some cool pictures, you can see where it probably settled, that some of that sealer settled in that crack right there, and you can see what happens to that when it gets really hot. It doesn't have time to cure, dry slower. Some of the areas doesn't really look like bubbles. It looks like the sealer didn't take. I mean, it's an issue with the heat. Here's a good one with bubbles. Okay, so you can really see that. Uh, what you're going to do to fix something like that? You're going to take xylene, and this is going to be the solvent that is in the sealer typically already. Okay, you'll take xylene like this, and what we need to do is kind of reemulsify that sealer. So if the sealer's been there for a month, 2 years, 5 years, it really doesn't matter. As long as it's a solvent-based sealer, you can take xylene and mist it over the top. Okay, we're not there to put a bunch of this on and scrub and do all those things, because you're taking off the sealer now. What this is going to do, this xylene, when you mist it over the top, is actually going to kind of soften that sealer up. I don't like to say melt, but it kind of melts that sealer, softens it up. Reemulsify is the term for it. It's going to take those bubbles and it's going to flatten them out, because they'll just kind of settle down. Now you got to be careful not to spray xylene on the grass and things like that, because it's really, really nasty solvent. You get it on your skin, make sure you wash your hands right away, because it'll burn the crap out of your skin. Okay, it's a really, really strong solvent. So you mist that on, it should take care of those bubbles. That's going to evaporate in a few minutes. Okay, direct sunlight, probably evaporate in less than a minute. It won't be an issue. Sometimes your gloss, everything looks great again. You don't need to reseal it. But if the customer is there and I already went back and I'm going to kind of fix this, I would throw an extra coat of seal on there just to make sure everybody's happy. This is going to take away some of your problems too with some of those efflorescence issues. If you can take your finger on the curb and there's a little bit of chalky residue left on there, and if you can see that chalk on the curb, typically you can wash that off and it won't be an issue. It's just regular hose and water and a brush. Sometimes even a little bit of vinegar water. It's got a little bit of acid in there, and that'll dissolve some of those calcium salts, because that's a base. If it doesn't come off in your finger and it's actually kind of in the sealer, you need to reemulsify that sealer. You need to soften that up again, because that'll release some of that vapor that's stuck in there, or it'll just dissolve some of that crappy color that's on there, that whitish color, and it really takes care of a lot of problems. 90% of your problems with sealer issues like this can be taken care of just by doing this. We use a small Chapin sprayer. These are like $10. Because typically if you leave any of that xylene in there for an extended period of time, it's going to chew up those seals so bad that you won't be able to use it again. This is a lot stronger than paint thinner or mineral spirits, where you can leave it in there for a long time. Paint thinner and mineral spirits will not work on the curb to fix this. It's not strong enough to melt that curb to kind of fix those things. So these are the Chapin sprayers that we use. Again, it's a good idea to reseal it if you think it's needed. But a lot of issues can be taken care of for sure with misting some xylene on there and kind of melting that and reemulsifying it and take care of some of those issues. When in doubt, like for us, we try to make sure we do all the colored and stamped jobs right away in the morning if it's going to be super hot. That way it's still cool when we're leaving and when we seal that, because we seal everything the same day. So we're not having to seal after 1 o'clock, So we try to set up our jobs that way to where we know we're not going to have issues. But if we do have issues, it's a pretty easy fix. Okay, never ever tear out any curb and redo it if you have color or sealer issues until you call me. Okay, we can fix that for you, and if you have any troubles, we can obviously help you. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.